Hi, I'm Rick at Rick Turns, and today's video is...
I decided I was going to make another talking head video, but you know, I think this is just way over the top.
Well, I've got a roughed out bowl here. The wood's very fresh. It was about 5 or 6 months old. I roughed it out a day or two ago. How am I going to dry this out? And more importantly, how do I know when it's really dry? What I normally do for drying and for determining when it's dry is, first of all, I use a drying box. And I'll put the blank in the drying box, take it out once a day, and check it for, is it dry enough? I've got a homemade drying box that I made out of a cardboard box and a few other bits and pieces of things. I've got a video on that. You'll find the link to that in the notes below the video. And using my drying box, it'll commonly take me from 4 to 7 days to dry out a good sized bowl blank, something like this. But even so, how do I know when it's dried out enough? All right, the first method is to use a scale and weigh the item on a daily basis, which is what I did for a number of years. So I've got a regular old postal scale here. It goes up to, I don't know, 3 pounds, or I forget exactly what the limit is, but it's plenty for me. 7 pounds maybe? I don't know. 40 pounds? That sounds more likely. Anyway, so the postal scale, before you ever put your workpiece into the drying box, before you start drying it, weigh it. Then I record that. And then every day, at the same time of day as I made the first weight check, I'll pull the bowl out, I'll check for the weight again. Now theoretically, you would go until it showed no weight loss from day to day. Since I'm using a heated drying box, which is just a very, very mild heat, about a 60-watt light bulb, I go until the weight loss reaches 3/10 of an ounce per day. And then I say, this is dry. Let it sit on the workbench for a day. It'll gain back maybe an ounce or so as it equalizes with the moisture content of the air. That works pretty well. Now, what I found that I believe works better is to get a moisture meter. And that is what we have here. Now, this one cost me about $35. You can find moisture meters going from, I think the lowest price I saw was about $12. The highest price was about $600. Now, I'll tell you, I'm never going to spend $600 on a moisture meter. Just one more point about a moisture meter. There are 2 types of moisture meters. There is this one. This is a pin type. And of course, these are the pins. And there is also a pinless moisture meter. They tend to run a little bit more, but not a huge amount. The pinless moisture meter, it has 2 little pads on the back. You press it down tight on the wood, and it measures the moisture that way. And the advantage, as I understand it, is that they will actually measure as much as 3/4 of an inch to an inch deep into the wood. So that's kind of cool. But the other thing about using the pad type, obviously, we have a curved surface here. You try and slap that on a curved surface, it's just not gonna work real well. But you could put it down here, for that matter. But you couldn't really put it inside anywhere. I don't think that would fit. Pin versus pinless. The pinned ones, they're cheaper. They're just as easy to use, and perhaps for wood turning, I would say they're more easy to use than the pad type or the pinless type would be. And they're also less expensive. So, at 25 bucks, is it even worth using? Well, that is a good question. If you look at the specs on these things on Amazon, some of them, oddly enough, the cheapest ones, claim an accuracy of 0.5%, 1%. The mid-range ones like this claim an accuracy of 2 to 3%. And the extreme high-end ones, I didn't even look at. To me, accuracy just doesn't matter. What I'm after is consistent readings. It can be off by 10%. That's fine with me, as long as it's always off by 10%, always off by the same amount. So the way I do this, turn it on, of course, I've found that usually helps. I've got this piece of wood. I keep this sitting in my workshop all the time, right near my lathe. So this piece of wood, which was dry when I got it, kiln dried, this is always going to be at ambient moisture content. And I will use this and just check it across the grain, incidentally. And I'm reading 11.8%. And just to see if we're consistent, go to the other side, 12%. So it's consistent within 0.2%. That's good enough for me. Now when you use these things, it is important, go across the grain. The grain in this piece is running this way. You want to go across the grain. These two pins go in across the grain. And you push them in. So, on a bowl blank, once I go through my pseudo calibration here, find out what the ambient moisture content is, and for around here, I guess unless it's raining, it seems to be around between 11 and 12%. Anyway, on the bowl blank now, the grain is running this way, so I am going to orient this so that the pins are going to go across the grain. Grain's running this way, so across the grain is in this way. And I will take this and I will put it in here, push it in tight. On this particular piece, it's 16.8%, 16.4%. Actually, it varies a little bit if I mess around with wobbling the pins back and forth. You could also do it on the outside of the bowl. When I did it on the inside, I did it down here, so I'm going to try that again, just for kicks here. Push the pins in nice and tight. Yeah, and I've got 16.0. That's more consistent with where I measured it on the inside. I would recommend getting a moisture meter. These are not very expensive. There we go. You can buy them, as I said, at any range of price. I saw a Klein one. Klein is a very good name in electrical instruments, and it was only about $40. And I saw no-name ones that were down around $12, $15. I'm not sure if I would trust those merely because they claim an accuracy of 0.5%, whereas the more expensive name brands claim an accuracy of 2 to 3%. When I started drying this bowl, it has been drying for about 3 days now, it was at 24% moisture content. It's down to around 16 now. So over 3 days, I've lost 8%, and that's good. Another day or two in the drying box, this one's gonna go back on the lathe so I can finish up my video on this particular bowl. That's all I've got. See you next video.